You ever sit there swiping through profiles at 11 p.m., thinking it's all just harmless fun? Yeah, so did these people, until their phones became their worst nightmare, and a casual date turned into something they'd never forget, for all the wrong reasons. Welcome to Unfiltered Nightmare. I'm bringing you 3 stories tonight that'll make you think twice before meeting that next match. These aren't urban legends or creepypasta. These are real accounts from real people who learned the hard way that sometimes the person smiling in those photos is hiding something much darker. Before we dive in, if you're into true horror stories that actually happened, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for more content like this. And maybe, just maybe, these stories will save you from making the same mistakes. All right, let's get into it.
Sarah was 24 and living in Seattle when this happened, about a year and a half ago. She'd been on Tinder for a few months, nothing too serious, just the usual dating app experience. Some good dates, some awkward ones, but nothing that ever made her feel unsafe. That was about to change. She matched with a guy named Derek. On paper, he seemed perfect. Clear photos, worked in IT, into hiking and craft beer, all the Seattle starter pack stuff. They messaged back and forth for about a week, and honestly, Sarah thought the conversation flowed pretty well. When he suggested meeting up for coffee, she didn't hesitate. Public place, daytime, busy Starbucks near the University District. She'd done this before. She knew the drill. Saturday afternoon rolled around, and Sarah got there first. She grabbed a table by the window, somewhere visible, somewhere safe. Derek showed up about 5 minutes late, which didn't bother her. He looked like his photos, maybe a bit shorter than she expected, but that was fine. They ordered their drinks and settled in. The first 20 minutes were normal. They talked about where they grew up, what they studied in college, the usual getting-to-know-you questions. But then, Derek started asking things that made Sarah's stomach twist just a little. He wanted to know about her apartment. What floor did she live on? Did she have a roommate? What time did she usually get home from work? Sarah kept her answers vague. She'd deflect or change the subject, but he'd just circle back to it later. "So you said you live alone, right?" he asked at one point. She never said that. She knew she never said that, but he acted like she had, like it was already established. After about 40 minutes, Sarah decided she was done. She told him she had plans with a friend later and needed to head out. Derek's expression shifted, just for a second, something that looked like annoyance, maybe frustration, but he said okay, and they walked out together. Sarah's car was parked 2 blocks away. She said a quick goodbye and walked toward it, relieved the date was over. She got in, locked the doors immediately, and just sat there for a moment, trying to shake off the weird feeling that had been building in her chest. That's when she looked up and saw him. Derek was standing across the street, just staring at her car. He wasn't pretending to look at his phone or waiting for a ride. He was just standing there, hands in his pockets, watching her. Sarah's heart started pounding. She turned the key, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking spot. She checked her rearview mirror. Derek was walking toward a silver Honda parked nearby. And then he got in. And then he started following her.
Sarah's apartment was only about 10 minutes away, but there was absolutely no way she was going home now, not with him behind her. She could see the silver Honda in her rearview mirror, keeping a steady distance, matching every turn she made. Her hands were shaking as she grabbed her phone and called her friend Rachel. "Rach, I need you to listen to me. I just left a Tinder date and the guy is following me in his car. I'm not going home. Can I come to your place?" Rachel didn't hesitate. "Yes, get here now. I'm buzzing you the second you pull up." Sarah started making random turns, testing whether he'd keep following. Left on a street she'd never been on, right through a residential neighborhood. Another left. He stayed behind her the entire time. This wasn't a coincidence. He was deliberately following her. By the time she pulled up to Rachel's building, a gated complex with security, her whole body was trembling. She looked in her mirror one more time and saw the silver Honda park about half a block down. He wasn't even trying to hide anymore. She buzzed Rachel, who let her in immediately. Sarah drove into the underground garage, parked, and ran upstairs. When she got inside Rachel's apartment, she collapsed onto the couch, trying to catch her breath. "We need to call the cops," Rachel said, already reaching for her phone. "And tell them what?" Sarah asked. "That he followed me? He didn't threaten me. He didn't touch me. He just followed me." Rachel frowned but didn't argue. They both knew Sarah was right. Technically, Derek hadn't broken any laws. It was creepy as hell, but not illegal. Sarah stayed at Rachel's that night. She barely slept. The next morning, she opened Tinder and saw that Derek had unmatched her. She felt a tiny bit of relief. Maybe he realized he'd gone too far. Maybe it was over. 3 days later, she got a text from an unknown number. "Why'd you run away? I just wanted to make sure you got home safe." Sarah blocked the number immediately. Then another text came through from a different number. "You didn't have to lie about having plans." She blocked that one too. Over the next week, she got texts from 5 different numbers. All of them had the same tone: hurt, confused, accusatory, acting like she was the one being unreasonable. Sarah finally went to the police and filed a report. They told her they'd look into it, but without a last name or much information, there wasn't a lot they could do. They advised her to keep blocking the numbers and to document everything. The texts stopped after about 2 weeks. Sarah deleted Tinder and didn't go near a dating app for 6 months. But the fear didn't stop. She kept looking over her shoulder, kept checking her rearview mirror, and then 3 months later, she saw him again.
His name's Marcus. He's 28, and this happened last year when he was still living in Austin. Like a lot of people, he was on Tinder, not looking for anything serious, just meeting people, seeing where things went. That's how he matched with Melissa. Her profile was pretty minimal, a few photos, not much in the bio, but she seemed cute and they had some shared interests. They texted for a few days, keeping it light, and then she suggested they meet up for drinks at a bar downtown. She picked the place, which Marcus thought was a good sign. It meant she was comfortable there, familiar with it. He got there first and grabbed a booth toward the back. Melissa showed up right on time, which he appreciated. She looked like her photos, maybe even prettier in person. They ordered drinks, and for the first hour or so, everything was completely normal. She was fun, laughed at his jokes, asked questions, seemed genuinely interested in what he had to say. They ordered a second round, and then she said something that made Marcus's stomach drop. "Your mom's name is Patricia, right?" He froze. He stared at her for a second, trying to figure out if he'd somehow mentioned his mom during their text conversations. But he knew he hadn't. He barely talked about his family with people he'd just met. "How do you know my mom's name?" he asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Melissa smiled and shrugged. "Oh, I think you mentioned it when we were texting." Marcus didn't argue, but later that night,
He went through their entire message history. He'd never mentioned his mother, not once. Then she brought up his high school. "You went to Westlake High, right? That's a good school." That was it. Marcus knew for a fact he'd never told her where he went to high school. He asked her how she knew that, and this time she got a little defensive. "You must have mentioned it and just forgot," she said, but her tone had changed. She wasn't smiling anymore. Marcus's skin crawled. He made up an excuse about having to get up early for work and said he should probably head out. Melissa looked disappointed but didn't push back. He paid the tab and they walked out of the bar together. She asked if he wanted to walk her to her car, and Marcus, still trying to be polite despite the alarm bells going off in his head, said sure. Her car was parked in a dimly lit section of the parking garage, tucked away in a corner where there weren't many other vehicles. When they got close to it, she stopped and turned to face him. "Do you want to sit in my car and talk for a bit?" "No thanks, I really need to get going." That's when everything shifted.
Melissa's whole demeanor changed in an instant. The friendly, flirty energy from the bar was gone. Her face hardened. "Why are you being so cold?" she asked. "Why are you rushing off?" Marcus apologized, said he just had a long day, and started backing toward the exit of the garage. But Melissa stepped closer to him, closing the distance he'd just created. "I know where you work, you know," she said, her voice flat. "At the marketing firm on 6th Street. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. He had definitely, absolutely never told her where he worked. "How do you know that?" he asked, no longer trying to hide the edge in his voice. Melissa just shrugged, almost smiling. "I have my ways." Marcus turned and walked away quickly, not quite running, but close to it. She called after him, saying something about how he was being rude, but he didn't stop. He got to his car, locked the doors, and sat there for a minute, trying to process what had just happened. The first thing he did when he got home was check all his social media accounts. His Instagram was public, but it didn't say where he worked. His LinkedIn did, though, and like an idiot, he left it public. He immediately changed all his privacy settings to the most restrictive options available. Then he noticed something else. Melissa had liked a bunch of his old Instagram photos, posts from 2, 3, even 4 years ago. She'd been scrolling through his entire life, studying him. Over the next few days, the emails started. 3 long, rambling messages from her over the course of a week. They weren't threatening exactly, but they were intense. She kept saying they had a connection, that he was wasting something special. She referenced things from his Facebook that he'd completely forgotten he'd even posted. Old photos from college, pictures with his family, status updates from years ago. Marcus blocked her on everything and didn't respond to any of the emails. But then she found him on LinkedIn and sent him a message there too. He blocked her on that platform as well. The worst part came about 2 weeks later. Marcus was at his gym, which was about 3 miles from his apartment. He was on the treadmill, zoned out with his headphones in, when he glanced over and saw her, Melissa, on an elliptical across the room. She saw him looking and waved. Marcus got off the treadmill immediately and went straight to the front desk. He told them he was being harassed and that the woman on the elliptical needed to leave. They checked their system. She wasn't a member. She'd signed up for a free trial pass that morning. Security escorted her out without incident, but the fact that she'd tracked down his gym, showed up there, and acted like it was completely normal, that was the thing that finally broke through Marcus's disbelief and made him realize this was serious. He filed a police report that afternoon.
This one comes from a guy named Alex. He's 26, and this happened about 8 months ago when he was living in Phoenix. He'd been on Tinder for a while, going on a lot of dates, nothing too serious, just meeting people and seeing what happened. That's how he matched with Jennifer. She was 29, worked as a teacher, and seemed completely normal. They talked for a few days, and she suggested they meet for dinner at this Italian place near Scottsdale. Alex showed up a few minutes early, but Jennifer was already there, sitting at a table by the window. She looked just like her photos. Pretty, well-dressed, warm smile. They ordered food and started talking, and honestly, the date was going really well. She was funny, easy to talk to, and they had a surprising amount in common. They both liked the same bands, both ran marathons, even worked in similar fields in education. Alex was actually starting to think this might go somewhere. About halfway through dinner, Jennifer's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face changed. Just for a second, she looked panicked. Then she recovered and said it was just a work email. But her phone kept buzzing, over and over. She kept ignoring it, but Alex could tell she was distracted. Finally, he asked if everything was okay. She said yes, everything was fine, but her hands were tense around her fork, and she wasn't making eye contact anymore. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she picked it up and read whatever message had come through. Alex watched her face go pale. Then his phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Tell Jennifer her husband is looking for her." Alex stared at the screen, reading the message twice to make sure he'd understood it correctly. Then he looked up at Jennifer. "Are you married?" She started to say no, but the word died in her throat. She put her face in her hands and just sat there for a moment. Then she admitted it. Yes, she was married. She said she and her husband were basically separated, that they were living in the same house, but not really together anymore. She said she was planning to file for divorce, but hadn't yet. Alex didn't know what to say. He felt like an idiot. He asked how her husband had gotten his number, and Jennifer said she had no idea, but her voice was shaking. That's when someone walked into the restaurant. A man, early 30s, tall and visibly angry. He walked straight to their table without even glancing around the restaurant. Jennifer stood up and tried to talk to him, but he ignored her completely and looked directly at Alex. "Who are you?" the man asked. Alex told him they were just having dinner, that he didn't know she was married. The man's jaw tightened. "Get out," he said. Just like that. Get out. Alex didn't argue.
Alex threw some cash on the table, probably too much, but he didn't care, and walked out of the restaurant. He could hear Jennifer and her husband arguing behind him, their voices rising, but he kept walking. He wasn't about to get in the middle of whatever this was. When he got to his car, he sat there for a minute, hands on the steering wheel, trying to calm down. Then his phone buzzed again. Another text from the same unknown number. This time, it was a screenshot, his Tinder profile. Then another text, a screenshot of his Instagram. Then another, a photo of his apartment building, taken from street level. The last message said, "Stay away from my wife." Alex blocked the number immediately and drove home, checking his rearview mirror the entire way. When he got there, he made sure no one had followed him, then locked every door and window in his apartment. He felt ridiculous doing it, but he didn't care. The whole thing had gone from an awkward date to something genuinely scary in the span of about 30 minutes. The next day, Jennifer texted him. She apologized, said her husband had gone through her phone and found their messages. She said he was just upset and wouldn't bother Alex again. She asked if they could still talk. Alex didn't respond. He blocked her number. But here's the part that still makes his hands shake when he thinks about it. A few days later, Alex went out to his car to head to work. Someone had keyed it. Deep, jagged scratches all along the driver's side, gouging through the paint down to the metal. And tucked under the windshield wiper was a folded piece of paper. He opened it. The note said, "I know where you live." Alex called the police immediately and filed a report. They came out, took photos,
checked his apartment building's security cameras. The footage was grainy, shot from a bad angle, and they couldn't identify anyone. The officer told him to stay vigilant, to call if anything else happened, but there wasn't much more they could do. Alex never heard from Jennifer or her husband again after that, but he got his car repaired, and 2 months later, he moved to a different apartment complex on the other side of town. He also deleted Tinder and stayed off dating apps for months. The whole experience changed how he approaches dating now. He Googles people before meeting them. He asks more questions up front. He's careful about what he shares and when. It's not foolproof, but at least he feels like he's being smarter about it. Because the truth is, you never really know who's on the other side of that screen. And sometimes one swipe can change everything.
So there you have it. 3 dates that went horribly, dangerously wrong. If these stories teach us anything, it's that you can never be too careful. Trust your gut. Keep your information private, and if something feels off, get out. Don't worry about being polite. Your safety is worth more than someone's feelings. Thanks for watching Unfiltered Nightmare. If you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories. Stay safe out there.